Well, hello again, everyone. Today we're going to talk about practicing with purpose. We all want to get better, so we need to spend time on the driving range. And we don't want to just mindlessly bang balls or get into that rapid fire mode where we hit and we hit and we hit, and we hit them good, but we don't know why we hit them good, so that when we go out to the golf course, that thought enters our mind when we're over top of the ball. We start to think, well, what do I do? What happens now? Instead of having a huge driving range where it might be over 100 yards wide, and if it doesn't go in the trees on that side or in the trees on that side, it was a good shot. So if we don't practice with purpose, we get into a false sense of security when we get out onto the golf course and we start to see the sand traps. We start to see the fairway, the rough, the trees, the lakes, all of those penalty areas out there, and our mind starts to now think, what do I do? How do I take this club back? What's my purpose? What's my main objective in this swing? If we don't have that set, we're lost out on the golf course, and our practice will not transfer to the golf course. So we need to practice with purpose. With each swing has a purpose, so that we can take those good thoughts, those good shots out onto the golf course and hit those same shots out there. So I'm going to walk you through how I warm up, how I practice with purpose, so that when we go to the golf course, I have those good feelings transferring right out there. First thing I do is I grab my 56-degree wedge. I'm going to just hit some short shots to loosen up. I'm going to hit the waist-high to waist-high shots, which, if you remember, is laying the baseline for a shot we use on the golf course, those shots that are about 40 yards for me. So what I'm trying to do here is control the distance of my backswing and make sure I have acceleration down into the shot and then follow through, so that I feel contact, I feel the motion my body wants to make and needs to make on the impact zone from waist high to waist high. So not only am I practicing a shot I'm going to use out on the golf course, I am reminding myself of what the proper move into impact should be. Once I've hit 5 or 6 of those, I'm going to start to go up more towards that full swing, and I want to make sure I have a specific target each and every time. I've got a mark out there in the distance. I'm looking for direction, not necessarily distance. Just a note on that, the reason I say I'm looking at direction and not for distance is I'm hitting range balls. I do not hit range balls out on the golf course. I play the Titleist AVX golf ball. That's going to travel different, fly different, distance different, everything different than a range ball. These range balls are super high compression golf balls that are designed to be hit hundreds and hundreds of times. They're left out in the cold, they're in the machine, or they're in the cart barn, or left out on the driving range. They're not going to be treated the same, so the distance might not be exactly the same. So I don't want to necessarily judge my distance control off of a range ball. Again, on this, I'm thinking about where I want to have the club set on the top of my backswing, and then follow through all the way to the end, so my hips and my shoulders are facing the target. All right, those last two felt pretty good. So I'm going to move on. I'm going to move up in my bag to a 9-iron. Again, making sure my direction is where I am aiming, and I'm finishing my swing. Picking the same point, so all my lines are familiar. With my full swing with a short iron, I'm trying to get the club up to a set position to where my left wrist is flat at the top of my swing so that I can come through with a nice square club face. If I can do that with some consistency and efficiency, I'm going to get a straight shot. There we go. Again, for me, if I get the club to that set position, a full finish or a full backswing for me is right about here. Flat left wrist, I'm in control of the club head, and I can come down with a square club face more times than not. I physically can take it back farther, but my consistency and accuracy goes way down if I try to swing harder. So that extra distance I might be sacrificing, I've determined is not worth it. I will sacrifice the distance to get the accuracy, the solidness of contact, so that I can be more consistent and hit more greens. So just remember, there's nowhere on the scorecard to put what club you hit. The only thing on the scorecard is how many strokes you took. So who cares if I'm hitting a 9-iron and my competitor's hitting a gap wedge? Because I know at the end of the day, more times than not, I'm going to be closer with my 9-iron than they will be with their gap wedge. Now I'm going to move up in my set, and let's go from a 9-iron to a 6-iron, go from a short iron to a mid-iron. I don't feel like I necessarily have to hit every club. I'm not out here to beat a ton of balls. It takes kind of the philosophy of that Vol had when he was the #1 player in the world. If you're out on the practice range, you're working on something, and you can efficiently do that time and time again, you don't need to stand there all day and beat balls. Let's get out on the golf course and apply the practice that we have. We're hitting good, let's ride it, get out on the golf course. So same thought here. I'm going to get my direction, same spot, off in the distance, and try to get that same position at the top of my swing. So the swing with the 6-iron is a little longer than the swing with the 9-iron. So I have to remind myself, allow the time necessary for the swing to happen. It's going to be a little bit longer because the club is longer, therefore the arc of my club head is going to travel a longer distance, which means it's going to take a little bit more time. Okay, I'm getting a little quick, so I'm going to work on two different things. Now, to make this practice purposeful, I'm going to make some groupings here of groups of three golf balls. If I want to work on two things, I can't do two things at one time. In the golf swing, it's just not going to produce good results. So I'm going to focus on each part individually. The first part I'm going to think about is keeping my head extremely still. I feel like I'm sliding a little bit. That's causing a little bit of thin shots. So I'm going to work on keeping the center of gravity right over the ball. So I rotate right around. So this first group of three, all I'm thinking about is the centeredness of my golf swing, swinging around that. What that is going to produce is shots that are more centeredness of contact. So center, center. So I should hit it center of the club face more often if I can keep my body centered over the golf ball. So that's what I'm going to judge whether or not this was a good shot. Well, need more work on that, but this next 3, I'm thinking mainly about where I'm that club to at the top of my swing. Am I gonna get to this spot? So all of the judge of quality of these shots is where I get the club to on my backswing. Now I'm back to thinking again on the centeredness of my body, keeping my body from sliding all over the place. Those were pretty good. Now I'm back to where am I taking to the top of my backswing. That felt really good. And the last one of this 3. Felt good too. So we have to take inventory now as we're starting to develop our swing thought. And I have to start thinking to myself, okay, when I separated those balls into groups of 3, which one was getting me a better result? I was hitting them a little bit better when I was thinking about keeping my head still. So as I switch to a 3-iron now, I'm going to think mainly about keeping my head still, see if this translates to this club as well. Oh yeah. Good solid contact. Solid contact will get you up around the greens even if you're not the most accurate, rather than a full shot of some kind. So we have to start to put it all together. As I start to narrow down what my swing thought is going to be, I have to start putting it into the routine I'm going to use on the golf swing. Again, everything has a purpose to transfer out to the golf course. So now I'm going to get to the point where I'm going to pick a different target the next 3 shots with this 3-iron. So I'm going to change my target, so I have to set everything up differently. All right, same process. Start from behind the ball, change up your target again. This forces you to go through the same process that you take out on the course. All right, each of those, slight cut on them, which is my natural shot. Hit them fairly solid, so I'm okay with that. Now I'm going to go out to my driver. Same process with the driver. Okay, a little pull, but solid. So I'll take that positive, focus on the positive, not the negative. Always want to be proactive with my thoughts and think about what am I trying to do instead of necessarily correcting what I did wrong last time. I want to think about my swing thought and what I want to do right this time. So this is swing thought of keeping my head fairly still. I don't want to just mindlessly hit balls, especially with my driver. So many people come to the range, first thing they do is grab their driver and they start swinging as hard as they can. 1, you're more likely to pull a muscle. 2, you're not helping yourself with any of the other swings. You can't make birdie from the tee, but you can make double bogey. So we have to get the ball in play. Loosening our bodies up properly is going to be the way to most effectively do that. That does not start with the driver. Oh yeah, big difference. So I have a purpose with each swing. And by taking a different approach with each group of balls, the idea is as I get better at this group, keeping my head still, that will start to happen more naturally, so that when I'm focusing on where I'm taking that club to the top, that head is staying a little bit more still. Then when I start to keep that head more still, focusing on that, where I take the club back will start to get better and better because I just practiced it. That's starting to become more natural. So eventually those two work into one, up in a pyramid, up at the top. But I'm just focusing on one thing. But because I've independently practiced the other, I'm gonna start to get a good result with each swing because I've had purposeful practice. Now I've got 4 balls left. I'm just gonna pick out some short targets just to feel that smooth rhythm. 30, 40 yard shots. Reminding myself of the acceleration and the feeling you need to have at impact. You don't do everyone perfect, but more and more you practice, the better you'll become. So, purpose to your practice. Every shot has a purpose, every shot has an objective, not only in where you want the ball to go, but what you're doing to how you're swinging the club. Make groups of balls, practice each thing independently, because we don't need more opportunity to make a mistake. If we focus on one thing, we can get that one thing done. So practice with purpose. You'll find your swing thought, you'll find your approach, your routine to get up to the shot on the golf course, and you won't have that question in your mind, what do I do now? Because you'll know exactly what to do. Well, thanks for watching the video. We hope to see you again next week. And until next time, keep practicing.